Hello there, Gamerinos and Gamerinas. Welcome to UnicornStorm. This is Rady, and today I'm here to tell you whether or not Babol the Walking Box is worth your while. And man, this really isn't the most enjoyable video to create. You see, it's fun to nitpick, to really tear a piece of media apart, to go really overboard in ranting about it. And I did it quite a few times to games like Yooka-Laylee or movies like Alita. But well, at least these games or movies were made by big studios or at least industry veterans and had a pretty high budget. But well, it's not fun to do this to an indie game. I don't like to tear a $5 game apart, and I don't enjoy telling people how shitty it is. But I guess that's what I'm going to do with this one. Well, we start with the positives. Babol the Walking Box is a game about a walking box called Babol. It is an 3D action platformer that took a lot of inspiration from Crash Bandicoot. It's colorful and upbeat and tries to differentiate every level from each other with mostly visual differences, but also some different level hazards like traps or certain enemies. And it has a pretty neat level progression system that reminds me a bit of Bowser's Fury from Mario 3D World, in that you don't select your level from a map screen or run towards a portal or whatever. Instead, all the levels kinda flow into each other. So it's more like one big level sectioned into smaller ones. And every checkpoint functions as the beginning of a new level. And this idea could be amazing in a better game. Gameplay-wise, it feels a bit like baby's first platformer, with very basic movement and a simple attack and a jump function, where you're not allowed to touch anything, but your attack kinda has a shockwave that defeats enemies and destroys certain traps. Level design-wise, though, this game's a fucking dick. So levels are most of the time straight paths, either from back to front or the reverse, or from left to right. You can move around or jump over obstacles and have to kill enemies that are in your way. You have to avoid exploding boxes or spike traps or exploding bottle traps or turnstile traps. And while that might seem simple, the game uses every cheap trick to make the experience as frustrating as possible for you. Most enemies run a fixed path up and down, but sometimes there's just one of them between the others homing in on you. And he looks just the same as all the others. Sometimes they're hidden behind rocks or bushes and are placed in a way that they attack you as soon as you jumped over another obstacle. And if the game really wants to fuck with you, then there are exploding boxes all around you that are triggered when you attack the enemy, because your attacks hit always in an area around you. Movement itself is fine, but turning feels a bit off because there's some turning animation that makes it a bit unresponsive, so it's a bit hard to make fine adjustments. And combine that with the player character not having a shadow and the camera being at a weird angle so that you never know where exactly in the game space you are, in addition to the game having traps strewn about everywhere and your character being killed in one hit, well, just say it spells disaster. It also doesn't help that most of the timed traps have a really weird rhythm, and I'm not sure if it's really meant to be that way. It kinda looks like an oversight. It's really easy to die in this game, which in itself wouldn't be a bad thing, but this game doesn't look like a hardcore punishing experience. I mean, the Crash Bandicoot games itself are assholes, but even they give you extra hit points. But in this game, one little step too far and back to the level beginning. One dickish enemy got you, back to the start of the level. One bad animation or hitbox, well, back to the start. A few power-ups strewn about the level to get more hit points would make the experience more bearable. Or maybe give the player a bit control over the camera. Or have it at a higher angle, at least during the parts where you have to move towards the background. Because during the side-scrolling levels it works quite well. And well, maybe have the traps activate in a more sensible rhythm. And then you can use the more strange rhythm for a harder path towards an upgrade. But yeah, this game already hasn't a lot going for it, and these fixes would only make it less bad and more mediocre. But aside from this neat interwoven level concept, there's just no originality in this. Enemies and traps are just thrown into the level carelessly. The player character and all the friendly NPCs are walking boxes. But nothing is done with this. Enemies are animals for no reason. You fight a giant cactus, and even though this guy's a boxer, there's just no punchline to it. The game doesn't cost much and well, it works. It's a silly little platformer, but I don't really think anyone should waste their time with this. Maybe if it gets some improvements, but I doubt that will happen. So yeah, sadly I can't recommend this game. But nonetheless, I hope you still have a great day. That's it from Rady, and I hope to see you again on the next game.